Welcome to the Airgun Show. We've got something for the target shooters in the second part of this week's show, as I'm casting an eye over the Walther LG400 Field Target rifle. First up though, we're on more familiar ground as I head out for an evening on the rabbits and manage to bag a couple of bonus squirrels while I'm at it. Right, I'm out on the farm this evening and I'm hoping that we're going to be able to make a bit of a mixed bag. The area that we're targeting is a paddock around the yard, and the farmer's main concern here is the rabbits that are just starting to come back a bit, and the problems that they're causing, well, apart from their burrowing potentially causing a danger to the livestock if a foot goes down a hole, they're also starting to undermine some of the buildings. Apart from that, there's also a very overgrown hedgerow here which connects a couple of small copses, and it can be quite busy with grey squirrels, so that's why there's that chance of a mixed bag. We didn't see any rabbits when we arrived, but I'm not entirely surprised because they can be extremely skittish here. My expectation is that they will probably start to emerge when the light starts to go, and hopefully we'll see a few squirrels in the meantime. My gun choice for this evening is the BSA R10TH. It's a 177 caliber sub 12 foot-pound airgun, so nice and quiet and just nice for using around this yard. It's a gun that I really don't use enough. It's a really lovely multi-shot PCP, so I'm glad to have got it out this evening. I've coupled it with the Zeiss Conquest V4 scope, which I used from the hide shooting squirrels a while ago. Absolutely love it. So I've set up with it again this evening, and this assignment is probably going to test it a bit more than just shooting over that close range, picking off squirrels from a feeding station. Now, I've said before, Zeiss scopes, they're not cheap, but the optical quality is amazing. It's one of the brightest, clearest scopes I've ever used, and this particular range now parallaxes down to just 10 yards, so it's perfect for airgun use. As ever, the scope's held on with sports match scope mounts. So that's the quarry that we're targeting and the kit that we're going to use to hopefully bring it to book. Now, knowing just how wary the rabbits here are, I know that I'm going to be wasting my time to try and stalk around. They just will not let the two of us, as you know, I've got a cameraman in tow, there's no way they would let us creep in close enough to get a shot through stalking tactics. So what I'm going to do is set up within one of the farm buildings, just on the edge of the paddock. That will give me a bit of cover. It also means that it's a static ambush, and I hope that will give us the best chance. So I'm going to head over to there now. Right, so what I've just done, obviously I've settled into the barn that I'm intending to shoot from. I've just pinged the range from my position out to a few prominent markers around the paddock and along the hedge, just so I know the distance to those objects. And the theory being that if anything shows itself close to one of those, I can quickly estimate the range to it and apply suitable hold over and hold under without having to reach for the rangefinder, move around and alert rabbits or squirrels to my presence. Now, in all honesty, it's highly unlikely that I'm going to be taking shots at much more than 30 metres this evening, so with a setup like this and off the sticks, we should be well on target. I was hoping to see the odd squirrel while waiting for the rabbits, and sure enough, it's not very long before we encounter a bushy tail. Well, that didn't take very long. That squirrel was actually trundling around along the bottom of the hedge, clambered up to where I shot it from, and froze, probably because it sensed us. And I could actually hear another squirrel chattering, so I hope we'll see that one pretty soon. Although rabbits were supposed to be our primary quarry, it's the squirrels that appear to be most abundant so far this evening. And another. And that one was actually incredibly close to where I'd shot the first one from. It was absolutely munching away at something. It appears that they're foraging for something around the base of that hedge and then clambering up just off the ground to eat it from what they think is a safe vantage point. And obviously this evening, it isn't. Patience is very important during an ambush like this. I feel that we are pretty well concealed inside this shed, but the rabbits are still refusing to venture above ground. Fortunately, the squirrels are being far less elusive. And another squirrel really close to the ground. There's definitely seems to be something down there that they really like. Now, that one, it seemed to clock us again because it froze and it was peering at me through the twigs, which actually gave me a much clearer shot. And again, really nice solid whack to the head on that one. My patience finally seems to have paid off as a rabbit creeps out into the yard. But this one is not hanging around. I told you these rabbits were skittish, and that's about as much as you get to see of them sometimes. Tried to take aim at that one, it just bolted straight off. I didn't even get it properly framed in the scope. As the light starts to fade, it looks as if I may at last get a chance at a rabbit. Well, first off, apologies, because I didn't focus the scope in sharp on that one. I just didn't want to move around, didn't want to wave my hand about any more than I had to, because I was really wary of spooking that rabbit. It was about 28 metres away, which with this setup zeroed at 35 metres, just needed a touch of hold under. Really solid connection. It looked like an extremely clean kill. One thing worth pointing out actually, this scope is available in loads of different reticle options, and I've actually got the simplest one here. It's nothing more than a very basic cross. Now you could argue that having more aim points would be an advantage for working out your hold over and hold under when you're shooting and doing more long range work. But in all honesty, it's amazing how quickly you become familiar with the increment of hold under and hold over to apply relative to the size of your quarry, the size of the target. And at times like this, when you need to react quite quickly, and that rabbit might be gone very quickly if you don't make up your mind and take the shot, it's definitely easier to work out that adjustment more quickly with a more basic reticle than when you're trying to calculate with something a bit more sophisticated. Once again, I just didn't bother to refocus on that one because these rabbits are going to bolt if they spot any excess movement, so I just wanted to get on and take the shot. Once again, that one was about 30 metres, round about the 30 metre mark, little bit of hold under, really good clean kill. I don't know if you're able to see through the scope cam footage, but there was actually an old discarded tyre upright in between me and the rabbit, and I actually had to take the shot through it. Still, it's another rabbit in the bag. Finally, a squirrel that was actually up in a tree, and again that one was around about the 30 metre mark. I don't know how well you'll be able to see through the scope cam footage, but it's really dark now. The light's really going, but this scope is absolutely dragging in the light. I can see as much through this setup now as I can with my naked eye, which is very impressive, especially when you consider the additional lenses that I'm filming through. Right, we're going to have to wrap it up now because the light has completely beaten us. We sat it out as late as we could, knowing that these skittish rabbits really weren't going to start to show themselves until the light started to dip. I decided on an evening session, I got a feeling for these rabbits now, we're probably really looking at a night vision approach because they are just super wary. But it's been a good session. Kit's performed really well. Certainly shot more squirrels than I'd expected, and we have managed to account for a couple of rabbits. So not a bad outcome at all, but I will be back again with the night vision gear. A tricky evening on the rabbits there, but we got there in the end and managed more squirrels than I'd expected. Next up, I'm casting an eye over the Walther LG400 Field Target rifle. Right. We've had quite a few requests to feature more field target and HFT gear. So John Rothery Wholesale has sent us the wooden stock version of the Walther LG400 Field Target PCP to take a look at. It retails for £1,860, and that buys you an airgun on which virtually everything has been built to a standard for serious competition. At around 108 centimetres, this is a relatively long airgun, and because of the amount of adjustability in the butt section, the overall length is actually variable by about 3 centimetres or so. Now it is deceptively light despite its size, and it tips the scales at around 3.1 kilos unscoped. As for features, let's start with the ambidextrous stock, which has a long forend that should accommodate a wide variety of hold styles. Now, sunken into the underside of the forend is a full-length accessory rail, which shooters who opt for this type of airgun are most likely to use to fit a hamster. The pistol grip is very steep and sets you up brilliant for excellent trigger attack. Now it has very sharp stippling all the way around, and that stippling is really crisp. It almost feels like sandpaper, and apart from massively enhancing grip, it also feels really nice to the touch. Moving back to the cheek piece, we start to see some of the stock adjustment coming into play. Now, if you slacken off the screw on the side, you can adjust its height. And if you slacken off the two top screws, you can also adjust its angle. Now, apart from enhancing comfort, it also ensures that you're looking straight down the scope. Right at the back, we have the butt plate, which offers even more adjustment. Loosen off the screw where it meets the stock, and it slides in and out so you can adjust length of pull. And if you slacken off the two screws behind that, you can adjust not just its height, but also its angle. You can make further adjustments by loosening off the screws that fasten the two main elements of the hook. These are height adjustable and also have some rotation so you can tweak their angle. A really nice touch is the fact that the gun comes supplied with a multi-tool full of Allen keys that fit all of the bolts on the gun. Being able to make all of those tweaks to the stock wouldn't count for very much if power output wasn't consistent, and it certainly is on this airgun. Filling to 200 bar, I got 150 shots at 11.6 foot-pounds. Now, muzzle velocity spread over that entire charge was within 20 feet per second. Over a 10-shot string, it was within 4 feet per second. The slender cylinder on this gun has an impressive capacity, and there's a pressure gauge at the front. One thing that is a bit of a faff is the fact that you have to remove the cylinder from the gun to refill it. The supplied adapter fits direct to your air bottle, so you don't have the flexibility of a hose. Once the cylinder is refilled, it's simply a matter of screwing it back into place and you're ready to go. Loading and cocking are taken care of by means of a very smooth lever action. Now, the gun is actually supplied with the lever facing forwards so that you cock it with an upward stroke. However, with a scope like this on here with relatively long turrets, the lever would foul that turret. So fortunately, you can take it off and put it on so it faces the other way. So what happens now is that the downward stroke cocks the gun and draws back the probe. You then load a pellet into the channel, and then the upward return stroke probes the pellet home, ready for the shot. Scope mounting is via dovetail rails. Now, there are obviously two mounting sections, and as far as I'm concerned, they provide plenty of clamping space that should accommodate most telescopic sights. One thing to be mindful of, though, is that the mechanism just behind the cocking lever rises up very close to the rails, and you need to make sure that you don't have any of your mounts positioned in its way, otherwise that could foul. As you would expect on a match standard rifle of this pedigree, there is loads of trigger adjustment. The blade itself can be adjusted forwards and backwards, up and down, and also for angle. And there's also a lot of adjustment within the two-stage unit. You can independently adjust the weight and travel of the first stage, and the weight and let-off point of the second stage, which goes right down to just 2 ounces. Now, the adjustments are very straightforward and clearly explained in the manual. The result is a very crisp and predictable trigger setup. Serious competition shooters will know that being familiar with your trigger is vital, and the only way to achieve that is with practice. This gun has a switch that enables you to shift between fire and training modes. In training mode, you can cock the gun and practice your trigger release, but the gun doesn't fire a charge of air. The 565mm match grade barrel is sleeved inside a full carbon shroud and even has an adjustable coned air stripper. Now, if you slacken off the grub screw, you can shift the air stripper setup backwards and forwards to further improve this gun's pellet grouping potential. The build quality of this air rifle looks and feels really good, and the firing cycle is exceptionally smooth. It actually feels really dead, which is just what you want for competition shooting. Now, all of this gun's features combine to create a deadly accurate air rifle. Now, I certainly can't match it for accuracy, but the supplied 50-metre test group measures about 12mm from centre to centre. So,
That's the Walther LG400 Field Target in wooden stock guise. Now I do know a few shooters that use these guns for hunting, but by and large it really is an out and out competition rifle. It boasts remarkably precise German engineering and is just outstandingly accurate. It even comes supplied with a lockable hard case. If you're looking for a precision air rifle that can tear up field target and HFT courses, have a go with this one.
Don't miss the award-winning Airgun Shooter magazine. It's packed with hunting features, reviews, tactics and insight to help you become an even more successful shooter. Get your copy today in shops or online.
I'm afraid that's all we've got time for this week, but as ever, we'll be back again in a fortnight. Thank you for watching, and please don't forget to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. And if you aren't already a member of the BASC, have a look at their website and check out the benefits that you could be taking advantage of through Airgun membership.